Maya Angelou states that any book that helps a child form a habit of reading, to make reading one of his deep and continuing needs, is good for him. So, are your students' needs being met as readers, and how can digital formats help teachers meet those needs? Now, using digital platforms, though, may require redefinition of books, and this can be scary for those not familiar with technology. And if books are redefined, then holy smokes, what is a text? Anything that my students can read with their eyes, ears, and hands is a text for us. And digital formats allow me to circumvent my prescriptive curriculum and restricted budget. I can deliver innumerable types of texts in varying formats that would not be available to my students in a paper-based classroom. Now, this does not mean that my students are in a lab with their faces in a screen. The desktop, long-tabled computer labs are the dinosaurs of the digital world. With mobile hardware such as smartphones and Chromebooks, digital reading is active in my classroom. From blending paper with the tech to reconfiguring seating arrangements, students live in and out of the screens. In my flipped classroom, I model close reading via screencasts and lead the students through annotation lessons in such a way that they can pause, rewind, and rewatch me as they mark up their paper texts. And with tools such as Docent EDU and Actively Learn, I can track reading progress and their depth of thought. I don't feel like I'm trying to catch the wind when assessing reading and analysis. I can also hack the audiobook with Edpuzzle, where I provide directions for annotations, prompts for turning to talk to their neighbor, and embedded questions that check for understanding while reading. I'm constantly thinking about tapping Bloom's taxonomy and making sure that my students are applying, creating, evaluating, and analyzing what they read. But ultimately, meeting my needs for my students' needs for digital reading, I must constantly cultivate a sense of belonging and esteem. I hope Maslow forgives me for overlaying a digital lens to his hierarchy, but Maslow's hierarchy gives me that lens to focus my instructional practices so that I am not just teaching in a classroom, but in a community. And think about that shift in mindset when we use the word community instead of classroom for our learning space. When students feel safe and valued in a community, they are willing to do more and have a growth mindset, and crazy things like this happen. By providing choice through digital means, I am also tapping into students' abilities to make choices and decisions that affect more than themselves. We can hone students' skills and move them up the hierarchy by providing choice in the texts we read, the format in which we read them, and choice in allowing students to show what they know. Book Track Classroom allows students to choose texts to read that include a soundtrack or narrative layer, as well as the platform to publish their own book tracked texts. And when students are given a space to grow, even crazier things will happen. My most introverted student will self-publish her own poetry to our writers community group in Edmodo. So think about what happens when we change our terminology in class from turn in to publish. And how does this shift their accountability and ownership of their work? Is it enough that I believe in my students and talk to them like readers and writers? For my students to become self-actualized readers and writers, they must be challenged with texts and tasks that promote growth in their skills. And while we use Joseph Campbell's Hero's Journey for analysis of text and writing projects, ultimately, this assignment here helped them to make the shift from student to author as they applied visual design concepts to Google Slides to publish original stories in ebook format. And when students think and act like authors, they believe in themselves and become better readers and writers. And ultimately, when given the support, resources, and learning space to grow, they become self-actualized digital learners who are connected to the texts, each other, and the world. Thank you.